Karis Rea is a thought leader, producer, and is with the Epoch Times. Her expertise is the Middle East. You know, today I met with someone because I've been so confused as to what the truth was about whether or not the United States had done any serious damage to Iran's nuclear facilities, whether or not Qatar was told that the missiles were coming and they were just certain places they would hit. But I must tell you, and this person is formidable. I would never call their name. I just needed some clarification. And this is what they said to me. It's the first time I reported this. They did far more damage than the Iranians will ever admit to their nuclear facilities. Where people talk about months, they've been probably set back for years. And in Qatar, where they said they just flew over and hit military bases, they hit houses, they hit buildings, they hit hotels that were severely damaged. No loss of life, but a huge impact on their infrastructure. Something else they said to me, Erdogan in Turkey is the biggest victor in all this because he is now the power broker there. Why? Iran is gone and Russia is bogged down in a war. What do you say?
I would say that's about 75% true. I think there is no doubt that Iran is largely a paper tiger, which is why it has to operate through its proxy groups, right? It doesn't have nearly the type of air force or arsenal that can stand up to a country like Israel or the United States. I mean, just think about it. In 2 days, a country the size of New Jersey was able to take control of the skies of Iran, which is the size of 2 Texases. It's double the size of Texas with 10 times the amount of people. I mean,
93 million.
93 million people. Israel's a country of 10 million. I mean, this is something that Russia hasn't been able to do with Ukraine in 3 years. So the utter domination and the embarrassment to Iran is substantial, and the whole world knows it. Now, in terms of Qatar, we saw that Trump had started evacuating troops from the airbase. He had started evacuating planes. He had evacuated ships from the coasts of other bases. So this was all coordinated. And he even admitted that.
No, that was definitely correct. What I'm saying is the missile attacks came from a base that was much closer to Qatar. If it were coordinated, it would have been done for this. I'm only saying that the missiles were not coordinated. Qatar had no idea that these missiles were coming and how fast they were coming. They had to intercept over 16 missiles that were fired upon them.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's true that Qatar had no idea. I think they had a very good idea what was coming, because if they didn't, then Trump would not have evacuated the air bases.
That's true. They knew there would be a retaliation. And with the American military base, obviously that was a possibility, but there was no coordination, is all my source was saying.
Oh yeah, well, there wasn't any, I don't think, coordination between necessarily Qatar and Iran directly. I don't necessarily think that was the case. But I mean, there was not a scratch. There was not a single injury in Qatar. There was not any damage to any American troops, not one soldier. So the retaliation was largely a failure.
But to the infrastructure, they took hit on buildings. Now that may not be a military base, but they took hits as a result of those missile attacks.
Well, there was no doubt there was going to have to be some retaliation. Okay, but I mean, if you look at even just the amount of bombs and missiles, I mean, you have 500 missiles launched from Iran, and you have, 4,000 bombs or something dropped on Iran on Israel's side. So, I mean, it's really no comparison.
The other note that they made, which I thought was quite fascinating, they said we have the wrong narrative. Iran is no longer involved in Syria, Iraq, which it was a nuisance. And instead of talking about all these other narratives that's being put out by the media and everybody else, Iran has been severely reduced from being the threat and the bully they once were.
Oh, absolutely. Iran has been the single source of instability in the Middle East for 46 years since the Islamic Revolution. And you see now that all of its proxies that they thought would come to its aid, namely Hezbollah in Lebanon and even the Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq, these are Shia militias trained and funded by Iran, all of them were eerily silent. None of them retaliated on behalf of Iran, except for the Houthis in Yemen. And so what you see is that, now that Bashar al-Assad is gone from Syria and Hezbollah is largely weakened in Lebanon, you see that their whole goal of domination and via the Red Crescent has essentially just become null and void. And who really has emerged as the strong horse in the region is Israel.
The other thing is I found fascinating, which I had not considered, is how many people, the elite in a place like Iran and Syria, have created wealth as a result of these wars and these conflicts. And they've been able to stockpile wealth for generations to come. And because that wealth is threatened, we have to be very careful if they decide to do a regime change in Iran, exactly who that person is. And while we may not have the right person in Syria, he's better than what we had before, but still, it's still a fragile situation for us in terms of the person in Syria, because there's still issues that we may have to face in the long run.
No doubt. I mean, this guy was a former al-Qaeda commander. So, and now he's part of HTS, which is just kind of a rebranding of an Islamist Sunni group. So of course we have to tread carefully, and we have to think about who we're dealing with here. But he has alluded to the fact that he is ready to form a real peace with Israel, and that would be incredible. Now we'll see. They're negotiating the details probably as we speak. There's a number of conditions that he has laid down for him to recognize Israel, but none of those include requiring Israel to give back the Golan Heights. I mean, that's a huge, huge step in the right direction, because that would be an absolute non-starter for Israel. Even President Trump recognized in his first administration Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights. So the fact that this man is actually prepared to sit down and talk, negotiation and peace means that we, while we have to tread lightly, we also have to consider that perhaps this man wants to be part of the community of nations and the modern world, and maybe he wants to undergo the same types of reforms as other Gulf states have, like the UAE and like Saudi Arabia, who are now our allies, great allies in the region of America. And I think also what you see is that a man like al-Shura in Syria is very, very happy to see Iran weakened, because al-Assad, the former president of Syria, was a puppet of Iran, and now that Iran has no control over that region, then all the rebel forces that were fighting against al-Assad, which included HTS, al-Shara's group, can finally establish their foothold there and establish power.
Now let's turn to Bibi. There's a lot of distrust for Bibi and what his true agenda is in the Middle East, and whether his agenda is the same as the Americans. And one thing they will say is that while Trump takes credit for the 3 targets that they hit, they gave Israel credit for what they were able to do in Iran. And the reason why Iran is weakened, because they've literally just dismantled the leadership of Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, just decimated them until they have no one they can really turn to, which is one of the reasons why when Russia and China were assessing this situation, all their main people were all dead. There's nobody left.
Right. Yeah, this is going to go down in history books. I mean, what Israel has done here is the stuff of legends. It just demonstrates operational mastery, intelligence, dominance on a scale that we have not seen in that region. I mean, there's no other military like it except for the United States. But really, the United States, I don't think, would have been nearly as successful if Israel had not cleared the ground for them, laid the groundwork, did the dirty work. I mean, it was, I think, I mean, there's speculation as to whether Trump had promised Israel that, if they did this, then he was going to come in and do this. But I think what's more likely is he made no guarantees to Israel, and he saw what a spectacular job that they were doing, just incredibly precise, targeted operations. And Trump, bless his heart, but his big ego basically said, hey, I want in on this. They're winning. I like to win. We all know Trump likes to win. And he made the decision to finish the job and send those bombers out and drop those 30,000-pound bunker busting bombs. So to remember, what those bombs were made for this mission. So it was always a matter of time that we were going to take that shot. It was just a question of when.
I'm gonna keep you. I want to continue this, and we're gonna have our panel join us. This is Your Voice, Your Future. I'm Armstrong Williams, and we'll be back. Hey, welcome back. Larry Clayman and Jared Stepman is joining us. The reason I wanted to keep you on, because you've really studied this Mamdani, who was just elected as the Democrats' nominee to run and to be mayor if he wins in November in New York. But you've really studied him. And also you're a fellow at the Middle East Forum. I want to acknowledge that. Talk about, and I want to get all our guests in this conversation, talk about Mamdani and who he really is.
Yeah, the reason why Middle East Forum has been studying him so long is because essentially he comes from a family of Islamists. His father is a well-known, radically left-wing and Islamist professor, kind of part of what they call the Red-Green Alliance, right? The progressive left joining forces with the Islamist right. He is absolutely cut from the same cloth. He has been on our radar for a long time because when he joined local governance, we were very worried that he was so outspoken and proud of his anti-Semitism under the guise of anti-Zionism. I mean, this is not somebody who, you have to dig deep to find his radical roots or statements that he said in the past. I mean, he is brazen about it. He said that he's going to arrest Netanyahu when he comes to New York. I mean, this is so radical, and I think that the problem is, you have somebody like Mamdani who comes in and now, for the first time, because he knows he has to win this election, and this is the stronghold for Jewish, for Jews in America, right? I mean, New York has the biggest Jewish population of any state, and so he is just now starting to like temper his kind of ideas.
No, the mainstream media is trying to make him over.
And so what you're seeing, and so the problem with him now is what you're seeing is that, I was just gonna say, that when he does that, the media will just erase his past, just completely erase it. And like I said, it's not a faraway past. I mean, as recently as, a few weeks ago, he was making outrageous statements. So even just really, really recently, since he's won, I've seen him kind of start to moderate his agenda. And the proof is in the pudding. We've seen him now go into the community of New Yorkers, and we've seen these radical anti-Israel keffiyeh wearing, Palestinian flag waving activists come up to him and start shouting him down for essentially deserting them, right? Because before he was outspoken about how Israel didn't have a right to exist, right? And it wasn't about the two-state solution, it was about the one-state solution. But now he's saying, no, Israel has a right to exist, right? And so all of his former fans within Our Lifetime, which is a radical pro-jihadi group that he used to work with, they're very upset with him. Just in the last few weeks, you see them all coming forward and say like, oh, he's now just another politician. But we know where his ideology lies. We know that he's not just that, there's a little bit of opportunism in here for sure. But we know that from the past that this man is deeply, deeply ideological. Anybody who's a proud member of the Democratic Socialists of America has an agenda that is political at its core and is much more about power dynamics than it is about nuance and really working with the needs of individuals and making sure that our Constitution, our constitutional rights and liberties are protected.
Larry Klayman, how does someone like this rise in the United States and in a place like New York City? How does it happen?
Well, I think it's a good question. It's been happening for a number of years. This is germinating up to the surface. There's a great deal of anti-Semitism out there. Just look on X, you'll see it continuously. You have not only these radical Islamists, and most Muslims are good people, so I don't equate it with them, but you also have the Jewish left, frankly, that's getting a lot of reaction here. And they actually support these people. It's unbelievable. This is the same Jewish left that has tried to destroy Israel in many ways. So I don't think it's surprising that you see this rise up. And I'm, by the way, I'm of Jewish origin myself. I'm a Messianic Jew. So I don't mean that in any anti-Semitic way. But I think it's a reaction. And it's a reaction to a lot of what's been going on today. Of course, it is anti-Semitic. It's unfair. It is very dangerous. And he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And he's promising a lot of free things. And people are willing to give it a shot. That's what they gave Hitler. Germany was destroyed after World War I, and he said, I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to make you prosperous again, support me. And of course, we saw what happened. And of course, the Jews are the reason that, as Hitler put forward, why Germany was in such bad shape. So history repeats itself, and we're seeing it. This guy is extremely dangerous. And in my opinion, there is a large portion of the Democrat Party which is just like him.
What's fascinating, Jared, is that many will tell you in history, if it were not for the election of Obama, Donald Trump would have never been president. Some would say, were it not for Donald Trump's policies in New York and around the country, people like this guy would never have had any kind of possibility of being the mayoral candidate for the Democratic Party and all the other things that are beginning to rise as a result of Donald Trump being president.
Yeah, I think there's maybe something to it. I think there's something to the idea that the Democrat Party establishment now is very much exhausted, has been embarrassed by the Trump's rise yet again to the White House. You now have a far left, and I think what Mondami represents is that protest activist left. We see this on college campuses. We see this at Harvard University. He represents that class, a lot of those young people, and they feel that he brings energy to them. They want purity. They want resistance. And I think that is what he represents, the sort of liberal primal scream. And so they're backing somebody who has embraced every failed left-wing idea from practically the last, not just 5 years, last 100 years. He's basically just has a grab bag of every single one of those bad policies, including silly ones like government-run grocery stores, which won't really go anywhere in New York City. So these are very bad ideas and bad policies that I'm not going to say would destroy New York City. It's a city that already the politics lean towards his way, but will do harm, especially in my opinion. I've talked to people in New York. They're very worried, especially on the crime and order kind of issues. His support, his lack of support for NYPD, the police. We had a major crime spike in this city. And there's a very real concern now that the city is going to become even more dangerous. The problems on the subway are going to proliferate. And we have somebody who's not going to back the police in many cases. So I think there's a lot of concern, even among those who may consider themselves Democrats, that this guy is really bad news.
So, Karis, I heard Alan Dershowitz say a few days ago that he felt that Harvard and the White House were very close to negotiating and understanding that they both would sign off on. But then the Trump administration accused Harvard today of civil rights violations of Jews. How would that situation resolve itself?
You know, I'm terrible with speculation. I'm going to be honest. All I can tell you is that we need to learn from Harvard's past if we want to predict the future. And Harvard has not taken the appropriate steps to confront this issue. There are some, especially Democrat Jews, who will say that they have. Look, they established a task force, and look at, even if you read the report that they came out with, it was quite an indictment of the state of anti-Semitism on college campuses. But in terms of like practical, actionable steps, in terms of cleaning house of their radical anti-Semitic faculty and administrators, in terms of cracking down on foreign students who are in breach of their guidelines, in violation of them, they are not doing nearly enough for the Trump administration to consider them a reliable and good faith actor. I mean, Harvard is just one of the worst, and it always has been, going back to the Jewish quotas that it was imposing, you know, around World War I and World War II, and as well as its very, very disturbing ties to neo-Nazis that they had invited to come speak. I mean, there's books written about this, and so this is just par for the course. And I don't think that Trump should be trusting of an institution like Harvard.
Larry?
Maybe when I backtrack a little bit on Iran right now, I'd like to say something on that. You know, there's a great euphoria right now that somehow we destroyed all of the ability to produce an atomic weapon, that Iran is on its back, that it's a paper tiger. And I would not discount the fact that they are a wounded tiger, that they could pull something out of a hat, get access to a nuclear weapon somehow on the black market. After the Soviet Union fell, there were a lot of, there was a great potential to have that happen, suitcase nuclear weapons, dirty bombs, etc. And as much as I love President Trump, I think he's making a mistake right now. He's backing off a little bit in the last day or so and trying to negotiate something with Iran. These are radical people that believe in the extermination of Jews and by extension Christians as well. They're not people that think the way we think. And I believe, and I think that Israel, you know, is biding its time right now, and I think the United States, frankly, ultimately should join in, that we need to remove this regime and let the Iranian people take over at that point. There are many people in that country that are very well educated, that have courage. It's not regime change. It's basically getting rid of these individuals who are pure evil. You cannot negotiate with them. And I'm very concerned about President Trump's negotiator, Stephen Witkoff, who doesn't seem to me to have the gravitas, or he seems naive, he seems weak. He's accomplished nothing in Ukraine. He's accomplished nothing, frankly, in the Middle East to speak of. I think it's time to put aside negotiation and to remove the regime before it's too late. You have the chance now. They're on their back. Do it now. Get rid of them. Let the Iranian people then take over. They're not like the Iraqis. They are much more sophisticated, and they can take control.
Jared?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little more wary of doubling down. I was very happy with Trump's actions. I think the president did a very good job of really negotiating this entire conflict and trusting a very strong ally in the Middle East. Israel has been a strong ally of the United States. They very much proved that. I think President Trump backed their play, essentially. I think he took a chance on them, used this strike in the hopes that this nuclear facility would be entirely wiped out. I do believe they have. But I think he sees potential large risk in the attempt to topple this regime. It's very rare that by air power alone that any regime can be toppled. Now, there may be a lot of dissenter groups within Iran. Very clearly, there must have been, given how much Israel has penetrated that society with spies, and Mossad has done an incredible job there. There's obviously dissent. But taking that next step and pushing regime change, I think, is what Trump has backed off on. And so I think he's willing to take the more limited action of destroying these nuclear facilities. He's made himself very clear, I mean, really, since he's been in politics, that Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. And I think he's going to continue that policy. I think if there's any idea that they could potentially get nuclear weapons in the future, I think he would act again in just as decisive a matter.
You really want peace in the Middle East.
Larry, please. Let me just say this to you as I say goodbye to you, Karis. There are many people who are being executed in Iran now who are being accused of being spies and aiding and abetting Israel and their success and sort of what they've been able to do militarily inside the perimeter of Iran.
I think there's been six executions so far, yeah.
And there will be more.
Most likely. And I think about 700 arrests.
700 arrests.
Is what I'm hearing.
That's unprecedented.
Not for Iran. I mean, they've executed nine people. So, you know, another 3 people just in 2025 alone. So yes, there's certainly an uptick now, but the Iranian regime is absolutely ruthless. I mean, they are brutal. They hang people in public squares, and you know, 40% of the country are enemies of the state, all the minorities. So yeah, I mean, the reason why you're seeing this now is because Iran is terrified, because Israel did manage to penetrate them so deeply.
And they're sending a message to others.
And so Iran is really, really scared, and that's a good thing. I mean, look, it's absolutely tragic what the Iranian people have been enduring for 46 years. And there's no doubt that when you decide to attack another nation, whether by sea, land, or air, that you are setting up the landscape for possible death and destruction. And there has been 28 Israelis that have perished as a result of Iran's retaliatory missiles. And likely there will be many in Iran now that will perish at the hands of the regime. But this is all about understanding the difference between tactics and strategy and the strategic long-term goals of making sure that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They also cannot have a sophisticated ballistic missile arsenal, and they cannot be terrorizing the region through their proxy groups. And if you can create the conditions for those 3 things to happen, then the short-term chaos that ensues hopefully will be worth it.
Karis Rhea, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Middle East fella, Epoch Times. Larry and Jared and I will come back on the other side of this break. This is Your Voice, Your Future. know, Larry, the one big, beautiful bill is being promoted as a major legislative fix, but it is actually a power grab, according to some, disguised as reform. Now, Larry, Medicaid is on the table. Thune is having a very difficult time shepherding this along. Trump is threatening Tom Tillis and Massey that he would primary them. Obviously, there's a lot of pushback on this bill. And what will this bill look like when it's finally passed?
Well, we don't know, Armstrong, but this is Washington, D.C. I lived in Washington, D.C. over 30 years. I still am very much involved. I come back a lot. I follow what's going on. I have lawsuits there. But this is Washington, D.C. You're not going to get a perfect bill. To say that somehow we're going to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse with one bill is frankly unrealistic. There are a lot of very good things in that bill, dealing with the border, dealing with other forms of trying to make the country great again. And it will pass, and we will have a bigger deficit unless, of course, this stimulates the economy. And the economy seems to be doing extremely well lately, and perhaps we can make up the deficit by expanding that economy. So in the end, it will go through. And it's nothing different than has occurred in the past. Yeah, you're kicking the can down the road to some extent, but that's likely to happen. And I think that President Trump is right in trying to push this through. As far as Tillis is concerned, I don't know if it's accurate or not. I understand he's quitting. He's leaving anyway, so they don't have to primary him at this point. And he just simply hates President Trump.
Oh, come on. Are you going to say that the reason why he's pushing back? I mean, let me go to Jared. I mean, this fascinates me just because Tillis, who's read the bill, understands exactly what is in it, and because he disagrees, because he doesn't want $28 billion in Medicaid cuts, because it's going to really impact his constituents, which really elects him. So all of a sudden, he hates Trump is the reason why he's not supporting him. I mean, look, Elon Musk is back, Jared. He's taking on this bill again. There are a lot of critics of this bill. And while Larry is right, there are a lot of good things in this bill. Well, what about the fact that there will be a $5 trillion deficit as a result of this bill?
Yeah, I mean, there are different factions at play here. I think Tillis is maybe a little different in his criticism of this bill than Musk, who I think is more just horrified by the level of spending in this country, which I would hope most Americans understand, have some understanding of how bad it's gotten. We're almost $37 trillion in debt. We're paying nearly $3 billion a day. I think over $3 billion a day just on the interest on this. So I think those concerns have been there since the beginning, and I think that those are justified concerns. Now, of course, President Trump and those who back the bill say that, well, we still need to get these tax cuts. This is how we get the economy rolling. This is in part how we're going to pay off some of that debt in this country, that these things are absolutely necessary. So I think that the bill is certainly flawed in many cases. It's not even done. I think they're going to have difficulty even passing it through the House after the changes now in the Senate. I think a lot of those issues have been aired out there. So they're coming from moderates. They're coming from the more conservative, fiscally conservative side too. That's why it's been so difficult to get this through in one giant package. Maybe there's some question about whether or not we should have bills in these giant packages all the time. That is a serious concern. But I think ultimately, for the sake of the economy, for the sake of President Trump's agenda, this has to get through, even if it is somewhat of a flawed bill.
But what about this argument, Larry, that somehow or another the tariffs is going to help pay down the deficit substantially?
Well, I disagree with the president on that one. I've been a free trader for a long time. I spend most of my time as an international trade lawyer, as a younger lawyer, and I'm not in agreement that tariffs are the way to go. But in the short term, he certainly is getting results with them. And for instance, Canada backed down today on the tax on our media, our high-tech media. So I don't think that President Trump himself is a protectionist. This is temporary. This is negotiating style, and it's working. So I hope that sometime in the near future that those tariffs do come off and that we achieve what we're going to achieve in terms of negotiation economically.
So Larry, let me switch reels with you, because I want to get your and Jared's input on what the Supreme Court has given this president and this country in its final day on Friday before it adjourned for the summer?
If I may add, Armstrong, I think that the same thing I was saying about the situation in Iran applies to the Supreme Court's ruling. It's being overstated. People are pounding their chests. They're saying this is the cure-all. It's not. It limits the courts to a large extent not to go beyond that particular circuit or that district where a decision is made. But the way our system is set up, and I'm a lawyer now, almost frankly, of half a century. I hope I don't look that old. But it's going to be used as precedent. Even if one court makes a certain ruling and limited to a district or a circuit, it'll be used by other courts as precedent when the situation is before them. And consequently, it's not as big of a cure-all. It's not a panacea as being sold at this time. And we need a lot more reform to our legal system. I'm setting up, and I'm in the process with some very prominent people, and I hope you'll be part of it as well.
So you're saying the Supreme Court's ruling on deportation and limiting the judges having the ability to rein in the power of the president is not significant for Trump moving forward?
It's not insignificant. What I'm saying is not as significant as being sold. This idea of nationwide injunctions. Okay, yes, okay, they rein in.
We're not here to sell. We're just here, Larry, to deal with the fact of what the Supreme Court.
But there's a lot of hype in Washington these days, you know. And I'm sorry, maybe I'm old enough to understand and to believe that I can't accept everything that's being said when it's a kumbaya.
But you're sounding cynical now.
I have to be cynical. Look at the history of what's going on in Washington, D.C. for the last many decades. The fact is that this limits the power of one particular court to make a ruling for the entire country. But yet that ruling will be used by precedent, by other leftist judges and rhino judges in other districts and circuits in this country to impose their own injunction. It is not as broad as people are saying. Now, I understand salesmanship. I'm a salesman myself. I'm a trial lawyer, okay? I'm going to put forth the best argument for my client. But frankly, it's not as good as the Trump administration is portraying it, or for that matter, you know, legal experts that want to be cheerleaders for what's going on right now. We need major reform in our legal system, and that's why I'm setting up a Department of Judicial and Legal Accountability. Top to bottom. We need to remove.
Larry, let me get Jared's comments on this before he has to leave us in a couple of minutes. Go ahead, Jared.
I do think this is a big deal. I do think it's a big deal for not just the Trump administration, but for future administrations. I think the idea of the nationwide injunction was not just, it was certainly escalating. It was something that began basically in the 1960s, has escalated, even caused some trouble for the Biden administration, seemed to only escalate during during Trump's tenure. I think this will now limit the practice, and I do think it's ultimately good for the judiciary to be limited in a certain sense. I think that there was growing talk. I think it was wrong, but I think it was growing. Some saying, well, you know, the courts are out of control, ignore the courts. Now, I think that's very dangerous, but I think there was a lot of attitude. I think that's why Amy Coney Barrett's, Justice Coney Barrett's decision saying that basically pushing back against Ketanji Brown Jackson, saying, you know, that the judiciary can't have authority either, can't be have supremacy either. I think that's become a very big problem in the U.S. system. So I think this creates more balance for our system. It will give President Trump more leeway and give presidents in the future more leeway. It's not an unchecked power that the executive will have. I don't think that's the case at all. I think some are trying to construe it as that. But I do think it's a positive thing. Certainly is for President Trump's agenda, no question.
It's a step in the right direction, but I don't want people to think this is the cure-all. It's not. It's just simply one step. We need a total overhaul of our legal system, which in my view, honestly, is the most corrupt profession in the United States, the legal profession. And that's why there needs to be real reform here. This is not doing it. It's just going a little bit further to restrain the power of these judges.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, guys. I really appreciate your candor and commentary on this. This is Your Voice, Your Future. We'll be back.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. We are under weather alert tonight, and we also have a brand new tornado warning we are actually having to show you all. So things have been very active tonight, and here is a new storm with a new tornado warning. The most amazing thing about this tornado warning, it is almost exactly in the same spot as the last one earlier tonight, about 2.5 hours ago. So let me get this out to you right now. This is brand new. Tornado warning again for Baltimore County. This is until 8:15. Almost the exact same location, north of White Marsh. This has just been incredible tonight. More of the same activity has been forming over that area, and while an entirely different storm formed, it has produced another tornadic, or at least potentially tornadic circulation, except this time, this circulation is much stronger. So if you're just joining us right now, tornado warning for Baltimore County. This is right here on the border between Baltimore County and Harford County until 8:15. This time, again, a much stronger circulation is now showing up. So this warning again until 8:15. The track of this storm has been very slow, but off to the northeast and continues to move in that direction. We will be watching this carefully, but I just want to quickly show you a few of the tracks that we have here for what we're seeing. The first is, again, the circulation right in here, very near Joppatown, right here on that border of Harford and Baltimore County. There has been a number of reports of damage already from the previous storm. The previous storm triggered a tornado warning earlier today, and it was a much weaker one. If you were in that area before, this is the same area again, and I'm urging you to take this one seriously because this one looks far stronger on radar than the last one. The last one you could say, we already saw this. Nothing happened. This one looks a little different to me. So based upon what I'm seeing on radar, the velocity is showing it very clearly. Do you see where the red and green are kind of passing each other very near? This looks like just south of Pleasant Hills. That's the circulation. The green is towards the radar, the red is away, and right here, just south of Pleasant Hills, near Joppa, north of Joppa, between there and Mountain, and we're seeing it right here along that county line, which looks like that may be along, again, it looks like just to the east of Route 1, to the east of Kingsville. Crossing the border now. The latest data still shows, and that looks like somewhere near Jericho Road, but it will be approaching State Highway 152 here very shortly. This is just north of I-95 too. So again, tornado warning right now for technically Baltimore County, but also into Harford County, and that circulation, potential tornadic circulation, looks to be right on the border. In addition to this potential tornado is also torrential rain, torrential flash flooding that seems to be occurring in these same areas again. Already numerous reports again of damage in this same location from the earlier storm. This has just been incredible. We've seen the same storm hit the same area twice in that tornadic circulation in nearly the same area. Earlier tonight, I want to show you quickly just a few photos of what occurred. You can kind of get an idea from our camera here, and I'm going to try to see if I can turn that camera here soon enough, just slightly around, but this is what the storm looked like earlier today. It was incredible. You can see that first storm developing, producing a wall cloud, and then did not drop a tornado, not officially at least, but what it did do is definitely bring that potential close, as you could tell. Another shot here near Kingsville, Maryland. This is the exact same area once again that we are talking about where potentially a tornadic storm touchdown in that area, but we did not get confirmation of a tornado. And now we are looking at another storm once again in nearly the same area. I've got a live picture now here from our Towson camera looking very near that. Now it's very difficult to see. The shot is blurry, but if you look carefully, there is a definite lowering right here, and I can't see anything beyond that. Unfortunately, it's just getting too dark, too hazy, and the camera is just too blurry to make that out. You can see the lightning popping in the distance. So that is the storm that we are interested in and what we're looking at pretty much straight away, looking to the northeast from Towson. All right, so again, the storm that we are tracking right now, stronger than the last one that we saw, and still has plenty of potential for producing a tornado in this vicinity. We're looking at numerous damage reports in these areas, but most of this has occurred from earlier. So we've had numerous trees down at the intersection of Bel Air Road and New Cut Road. This came in at 5:11 from that earlier storm, and same with all of these others. So it's been difficult to maybe pinpoint and know for sure whether any of this damage may have occurred from recent or this recent storm or the last one. One other thing is the rainfall. Absolutely incredible amounts of rainfall. I need to show this again. Over the last 3 to 4 hours, you can see these areas that have just been absolutely clobbered with rain. We're talking 5 inches plus rain. This is showing estimating near 4.8 in that same area. But once again, we are interrupting programming for this tornado warning more than anything. So the circulation still very near Joppatown, and I'm going to try to declutter this a little bit. I know there's a lot on here, so let me try to declutter some of these things here. What we are really noticing is a big problem with the fact that we have not just the circulation, we have damaging wind potential and flooding potential all together in the exact same areas that have been hit by those exact same things. So some roads in those vicinities, I'm going to try to pull some of these up, but one of them, the circulation seems to be, let's see, right on State Road 152. So we're talking about it crossing 152, and it's very near the community of Mountain, north of Joppatown. So Pleasant Hills and Joppatown right there together. Now again, this is looking a little more discombobulated from what we saw earlier, but this is what the circulation looked like just before the warning was issued, and you can see a very clear indication of rotation in this area, right in here near Kingsville. That's the exact same location we saw the last one. Just incredible. And then here comes the next one moving closer to Joppatown. And I want to say that this storm has been what we call back building, where it's kind of redeveloping right behind the same areas over and over again. Not only does that help to increase the flash flooding threat, but it means that as soon as one tornadic circulation can develop, a new one can get pulled in. So this warning is going to continue here for at least the next 25 minutes. It's until 8:15 p.m. And it says the severe thunderstorm is moving pretty slowly east at around 15 miles per hour. So it may be taking a slightly right turn a little bit closer towards Joppatown. So anyone on I-95 needs to be prepared for this to possibly cross the road. We have just seen so much activity in this exact same spot once again. And the dangerous storm is said to be, pardon me, near Bel Air South, Bel Air North, Riverside, Pleasant Hills. Of course, we've talked about Joppatown and Joppa, Abington, but it does include the Upper Falls and Gunpowder. So we've got to watch this area. But notice, you see these pinks. This is not just intense rain. This could also be some hail mixed in there. So one problem you may have is if you're in this vicinity, you may not get a good view of what could be going on in there. The storm may have a circulation buried in rain. All right, so I'm going to put this in motion because this has been quite an evening. We are still weather alert tonight as we have watched a couple of clusters of cells roll through the area, but this is not in Baltimore proper. This is in the very extreme edge of Baltimore County, getting ready to move into Harford County. Is actually moving into Harford County now. It does cover both. The most intense rain is up there, but the tornadic circulation, potential for tornadic circulation, right there on the border. I'm going to take a look at a couple different radars. Some of them are not quite in range, so we will have to forgo those. But take a look at some of the rotation detector earlier. You can see on here where it was showing it slightly weaker, but there was a time or two where it was a little bit stronger just as the tornado warning was triggered, and then a much stronger circulation detected there near Pleasant Hills. So Pleasant Hills near Perry Hall. If you're in Perry Hall, you could probably look off to your north or northeast and see this thing, and it is probably monstrous. Not to mention, everyone, the rain is one thing. The lightning has been unbelievably intense with these storms. Just to give you an idea, it's just absolutely covering 400 strikes in the last 15 minutes. So the lightning is a huge hazard. The flooding, a huge hazard. And then, of course, now we have damaging wind potential, winds gusting 60 miles per hour. And again, over Joppatown, this area, Upper Falls, Kingsville, over towards Bradshaw. Johnson Manor needs to be prepared for this to head that direction as well. Mountain Road, it is getting near that, but between Bradshaw and Mountain Road, drawing a track on this will be difficult because it is nearly stationary, but I will draw a track, a very, very small track, because it's moving at roughly 15 miles per hour. And again, Joppatown, while that is showing up as being one of the first communities, let's see if I can get more communities in here. So Riverside, 827, Perryman, 835. Those are a few of the larger communities, but all the communities, you can see how many there could be in the vicinity. But there are so many that are nearby, but they may not even reach because this storm is moving so slowly. So at the very least, the ones that could be pushing in your area between now and say 8 o'clock, Jerusalem Mills, Clayton, Joppatown, Johnson Manor, Woodbridge Center, take your tornado precautions, which means you want to be away from windows. You do not want to be near windows. Put some walls between you and the outside. That does include getting to the interior part of your house. If you have a bathroom towards the interior, under a stairwell, if you have stairs, basements are best, of course. However, and this is a big however, I know there's been so much rain, some of you may have flooding in your basements. If you have anything under 6 inches of water in your basement, go ahead and go there. It's probably best. Even if you have to wade in 6 inches of water, it's better to be there. But of course, do not be in any flooding deeper than that. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are dealing with flooding on roads. Please try not to be on any of these roads. Route 1, I-95, between White Marsh and Aberdeen especially. If you can stay out of those vicinities, that would be best. But as this tornado warning will continue for the next, looks like about the next, almost a little more than 20 minutes. It's like about 22 minutes. In addition, again, we still have that severe thunderstorm warning. I'm going to look at some more data. The one good thing I can say is the circulation has shown some slight signs of weakening. Not much, but some compared to earlier, but enough where tornado warning is definitely needed here. And not to mention, there could be some pretty large hail showing up. What I'm looking at is a pretty intense storm, and if it is not hailing larger hail to, say, quarter size, it could be producing a ton of small hail. So if there is hail, it would probably be very near Pleasant Hills in these pinker colors just to the north, because some of the hail size that could be in here would be pretty large given what we have been seeing. And there you go, the hail detector showing where it is possible to probable of seeing some fairly large hail in this. And we're talking about quarter size hail. That's about 1 inch in diameter. If you have the ability to take some photos safely, keyword safely, feel free to do that. You can send them to me, weather@foxbaltimore.com. We've already seen some photos from earlier today. This is from earlier today, the exact same area. The Bush River looking west, we had storm number 1 move through. Gary Ballard was there, and you can see the wall cloud in the distance, that very dark and scary looking sky from that storm. And this is what it looked like moving into Kingsville. Possibly a funnel cloud, but difficult to make out. But today, that was from a weaker storm. Now we have a stronger storm moving over the exact same area twice, which is most concerning for just the rain factor, knowing that we have a flash flood warning until 10:45, including Bel Air, south there towards Baldwin, nearing Joppatown, that the rain has been incredible. And then, of course, outside of that box, that severe thunderstorm warning, that's where you can see wind gusts of 60 miles per hour. So continuing to watch as this storm is very slowly, excuse me, moving to the east around 15 miles per hour, very slowly. So it gives you plenty of time to take shelter, which is what we need you to do, want you to do. Please do that. Do not delay. But if you can see something in the vicinity of your area and you can take a photo safely, you can, of course, email it to us and, of course, submit any sort of reports of damage as well. Let's take another look at our live cam to see if we can see anything. Very difficult. It's getting darker, and again, the sky is with the lower light. It's tough to see, but what we can make out is right in here. That is likely the lowering that we're looking at here, and that's looking from Towson. Whether or not this is just a wall cloud here or a funnel is too difficult to see given this. And this makes it very difficult but more dangerous, knowing that being able to spot something like this is even harder as we get later and later. I'm going to see if I can move the camera a little closer and see if I can clarify it a bit for just some viewability here. So let's pan it around. We're going to look in a little closer. We know that there's just been a ton of lightning in this storm as well. That's one major hazard. So this would be the location of what we're trying to find, but again, hazy looking sky. A small appendage off to the left side there, not able to make out what that is, but we're going to watch it carefully. It's getting tough to see. The cameras are not low light cameras, but you can at least make out where the storm is. 450 strikes in 15 minutes. That's pretty incredible. So the storm itself has not moved much. Goodness. And then the potential for hail continues to rise. It has been pretty impressive. At the very least, you can expect 3/4 inch hail, which is to the size of around a nickel, but 1 inch size hail to the size of quarters is certainly possible. Upwards of $half size hail in this storm. I'm sorry, what was that? This is Bel Air, okay. The road is flooded in Bel Air, so I believe we have a picture of this, yep. And look at that. Vehicles struggling to get through that. It goes without saying, with something like this, you have to be so careful. If it's anything more than maybe 3 or 4 inches deep, you're risking your vehicle. If you want to take that chance, you can, but not something advisable. It looks like some at least deep ponding there, at least he's slowing down. If you have to go through water like this, one thing to note, if you cannot see any road stripes there, you should not be traveling forward at all. Turn around, don't drown, don't risk your car, don't risk your life, don't risk your passengers' lives here. Definitely make sure you are taking your precautions if you are out on the roads, which is not advisable at this time. All right, continuing again, an update on this, the radar update, the tornado warning still in effect until 8:15. Another look at the velocity to get an idea. Still looking at that circulation. And again, it's difficult to pinpoint because of the way this storm is, but there's at least one circulation in there. And it is almost directly over Joppatown. So I will try to put this up here. This is what we're looking at, the green and red next to each other. Difficult to make out what this could be. At the very least, this could be some stronger winds right behind it. We call those RFD winds, rear flank downdraft winds, and those can be very gusty. Sometimes they can precede tornado development, but this is showing at least 40-mile-per-hour winds. We could see something even stronger than that in those areas. So Bradshaw Road, right now, Old Joppa Road to Mountain Road is where we are expecting this potentially tornadic circulation moving across and continuing to push through that area very slowly. And it's crossing I-95 now, so that makes it even more concerning. If you are on I-95, if you know anyone on I-95, this is so important. Please tell them, or if you are listening, please exit the highway. Do not stop under overpasses. Those can be potential death traps, serious death traps for 2 reasons. One, it can funnel the wind and make it even stronger. 2 is that when you are under these, you are oftentimes impeding traffic, and the traffic may have a very difficult time seeing you. If you were stopped on a highway, first of all, it is not legal to do so. Second of all, you are causing yourself to be in grave danger. Someone could collide into the back of you at 60, 70 miles per hour. That could be lethal. Do not stop under overpasses. Find the nearest exit, and find shelter. That is not an overpass. Okay, Joppatown, this is that circulation very near here, but it's getting a little bit difficult to pinpoint it just based upon how the radar is presenting it, but still that tornado warning in effect until 8:15, and we're continuing to see at least the storm stay pretty strong, at least in terms of the overall strength of this storm. It is still very strong in terms of its ability to produce a tornado. It is slowly deteriorating just due to the fact that the circulation is not as strong as it was, but the storm itself is still very healthy, meaning it could produce some, of course, damaging winds, large hail, torrential rain, flooding rain. We do, again, still have that flash flood warning until 10:45, a little bit further north, but that does include Bel Air, north of Pleasant Hill. So again, what we're looking at is the storm itself right here. I'm going to take a look at the reflectivity, and you can see the progression of the storm moving once again over the exact same area that we have seen for the second time today. And I'm talking within a few miles, which is pretty incredible. All right, so if you are just joining us, we've been tracking severe weather most of the day today as we are weather alert due to these storms. And while there have only been a few powerful storms, they have been strong enough to trigger tornado warnings. In addition to that, we have seen them produce incredible flooding in the exact same areas. You folks that were over here towards Whitemarsh, Essex, Edgemere, Dundalk, yesterday, you remember this, you had a storm like this. It didn't trigger a tornado warning, but the rain was just incredible. And look at this, areas that have seen hardly any rainfall or none versus over here on the border of Baltimore and Harford County have seen closing in on 6 inches of rain now. 5.2 inches of rain estimated by radar. Again, we could definitely be seeing more than that. So between Joppatown, Bel Air up to Baldwin, we have already seen potential flash flooding and more coming in. If we have any other cameras, we could certainly pull them up. In the meantime, I'm going to go back to the Towson camera. This one's we're starting to lose visibility on this. We had just enough visibility earlier, but it doesn't look like we have any more here. So we've lost our visual abilities. But once again, the ability to be able to see these is also something that can be done by you on the ground, if you can do so safely. If it is pouring rain, hailing, and the wind is blowing, best to stay inside. If you can go outside and see something that is not directly near you, but you can gather a picture carefully, safely, feel free to send those in to us. It can give us a lot of information, including what you might be seeing. Send them to weather@foxbaltimore.com. That's my email. It's the easiest way to send it. Or you can tweet it at me on X or on Facebook, but definitely try to email it to us. That's one way we can definitely see that. It's been a fairly busy day. Getting some emails in now. There's been some reports of all sorts of things. Thunder rumbling. We've got Kingsville again, some video coming in. And as I'm getting it, I'm seeing it. Some video coming in of a wall cloud or a lowering. It's not showing what I'm seeing here necessarily a tornado. That's the good news. But that doesn't mean that couldn't have happened. Looks like more flooding reports are coming in too. The 1200 block of Jericho Road is completely closed now due to water flowing across the road, so that's good. At least it's closed. So south of Falston, 1 mile east of Kingsville, and this looks like this is near 152 and Route 1, just to the north of Pleasant Hills. That road is closed. 1200 block of Jericho Road closed. So again, the tornado warning still in effect until 8:15, so we've got another 10 minutes. And we're hoping that this could be canceled sooner, but we have to be prepared. Otherwise, there are still some strong enough winds in this that could consolidate. We've got to watch it carefully here. Once again, Joppatown, very nearby. This is moving at a snail's pace, which means you have every reason to be able to find shelter in time. Closing in on State Highway 24. Mountain Road, it looks like that circulation's very close to Mountain Road, still lingering near Joppatown towards Johnson Manor, right over the I-95 highway there. And you can see some of the communities in this location. So many of them here, but that circulation, while it's broad right now, this is where it's centered, directly over I-95. Broad circulation, but if it consolidates further, that would be, of course, a little bit more concerning. If you are outside and you're trying to see this, you may have difficulty if you're in Joppatown because of the pouring rain. If you're further south of I-95, say in Edgewood and looking north, you might have a better view and you may not be in direct line of danger from this storm. We're going to take a look again at the rotation detector, and as you can tell, it's there. It's showing up as weak, which is the way I'm analyzing it as well from my perspective, but earlier it was a little bit stronger when it was just on the other side of the county border in Baltimore County. But just as it crossed near Joppatown, it's been a little less impressive, but still worthy of taking seriously. So we'll detail this out one more time because of the update to the radar here. We're looking at the two colors here. The green is towards the radar, which is in this direction, and the red is away from the radar, which is this direction. This is your circulation right in here. But you see how it's kind of broad. It's spread out over a wider area. If these colors were to come together and be much brighter right next to each other, that would be more concerning. It shows me that the circulation is concentrating. I see it looks like we have a live picture here. This may be from our storm tracker. Can someone give me an idea? Okay, north on Harford Road, I believe that's still getting near the vicinity of this storm. Wow, the flooding is still pretty deep there. They're being careful. You can see how it's ponding, but as you notice when you looked, you could still see some of those road stripes. That's one indication that it may not be super deep. You got to approach those with care, with caution, but the rain here has been absolutely torrential. We're talking 5 inches of rain or more. So they are headed, I believe this is north. If you have any more further information on their location and direction of travel, that would be helpful. But Joppatown, this is where that circulation is. We've got to keep eyes on this. It's broad at the moment, but flooding's an issue. Traveling northbound, confirming that. And hopefully they're being very, very careful. We'll keep that shot up because they could come across some damage here from where they are located. So we'll put this into motion now, and you can see the progression of where that velocity was so much stronger earlier. I'll back it up and step it gently. This was where that tornado warning was triggered, a much clearer. If we saw a circulation that looked like that, that would be much more concerning, which it was around 7:30. It's been about 30 minutes since then, and you can see the circulation has not just weakened a bit, but it's broadened. And because it's broadened, that means that we still have rotation in the storm. It is still a supercell thunderstorm, but that means that it may not be as strong or capable of producing a tornado at this moment, but at any moment it can change. And I also have to add that just because we're seeing this on radar doesn't mean it's not happening as a tornado. Because the radar is just shooting so high up in the air. It's shooting thousands of feet in the air. And what we need to know is what's going on near the ground. So Joppatown is still the area of concern. Now we have to see what's going to happen behind this. Kingsville has just been absolutely clobbered today. Joppatown, all these areas. This small area has been clobbered by everything, including all this torrential rain, the flooding, the lightning, and 2 tornado warnings now over the same area. So the storm again moving very slowly. Okay, looks like we have some downed trees in Harford County. Do we have images of that? Just the report? Oh, yes, we do. Okay, so it looks like these are the ones blocking the roads here. And this is some video I believe our team may have gathered earlier this evening as they were up in the same exact area. Yes, so this is from our reporter, Morgan, who's out there tracking this. She's been on the roads carefully monitoring what's been going on, sent out to this location. And probably just as she was thinking of leaving to report back to the studio, or the station is probably realizing needing to be deployed again on the same area that's been hit more than once. Hard to know again when some of these trees may have been down from the previous storm or if this was the current one. And we have some flooding in Falston as well. Oh, wow. Unbelievable. That is some deep water. Turning creeks into rivers, sometimes roads into rivers. It's hard to make out. This looks like this may have been a small creek. Yeah, I believe so. And you can see the runoff from there. Probably a much clearer stream when not flooded. So plenty of new video coming in. But so far, the damage reports that I've been getting are still somewhat dated from the previous storm. The trees down in Kingsville was from 5/11. A lot of flooding reports from back during the 5 o'clock storm and then continuing, but no new reports yet. But we are still waiting to hear back. Luckily, at least the hail threat seems to have dropped. Earlier, it seems to have been a little bit stronger. Let me double check that. Nope, check that. My data wasn't quite on track yet. Let me See again, yes. So we are still seeing the possibility of some hail. We know that at the very least, extremely heavy rain, possibly mixed with some small hail. The storm is continuing to cycle down just a little bit, so I'm going to be hopeful that anything else that's going to occur from here on should be on the downgrade, including weakening of the circulation and hopefully a drop in the tornado warning, which is only in effect for another 4 minutes. But it's been centered right over Joppatown. So not much change in the locations here. Riverside, you would be near that. Magnolia, you would be near that, but it's been passing almost directly over I-95, which is more concerning knowing that we have so much traffic. But here it is again. There's I-95 for you right through here. This is I-95 we're tracking, and the circulation is practically right on top of that. Abington, Broadview, and just north of Clearview. Edgewood, north of Edgewood. So Edgewood's not in the warning proper, but it is very near there. And you can see that at the very least, where the storm is located, that spot could have a clear spot, ironically, in Clearview, where you might actually have a bit of a better clear view of where this possible tornadic circulation. And remember, there's many things that can look like tornadoes. Wall clouds that are low to the ground, that can have small appendages coming down from them. It's tough to make a real distinction unless you have trained eyes knowing whether it's a funnel cloud or just a small piece of a wall cloud, also known as scud. And that can be very scary, very threatening. But either way, feel free to take video and pictures if you can do it safely, and we can hopefully try to get an idea of the distinction of what's going on. All right, looks like we have, is this Route 1 at Maryland 24, I believe. Yeah, Route 1 looking, it looks like northbound. And I see some stopped vehicles. It's hard to tell if that is an intersection that they're stopped at. I think so. And, well, we know we've seen a lot of rainfall in these areas. You can see the ponding on the roads. They're trying to get through. So torrential rain on I-95. You remember, if you're moving at a high rate of speed, just a little bit of rain and you'll be off in the ditch. So that's a big problem. It is blocking your view of other vehicles. Once again, do not park under an overpass. That is a very dangerous place to be from tornadic winds, which can increase and get funneled under that bridge. That's not where you want to be. And also, it can lead to a horrific crash as people can run into the back of you in low visibility. So, do not park under overpasses. It is not just illegal, it's incredibly dangerous. Don't do that. Exit, the first exit you can find. If you can't find an exit, pull well off the shoulder onto the side, and if you can find a ditch, it would be the best place to do. You do not want to be in a car. I know it doesn't seem like a good thing to get out in torrential rain, but if you're risking your life by staying in your car, just want you to know. All right, so again, the latest scan still showing some rotation, but not as strong as it was. We're going to take a good look again at the rotation detector, which is not giving me a clear indication of where the rotation is, and that's a good thing. It means that it's having trouble finding the rotation, which means continuing to weaken. So we're going to hope that this warning will be expired any moment. Oh, it's extended until 8:45? Okay, so maybe, well, I have not seen a new tornado warning issued yet, but we'll wait and see for just a moment. I saw that this one was just expired. We're going to wait. Yep, there it goes. Okay, so absolutely right. Thank you, Hannah. Hannah's in my ear, my producer, giving me the latest. So we got this extended tornado warning now, brand new until 8:45, and they may be concerned that this could just be cycling up again. So they're going to play it very safe tonight. Also notice the shape of the storm. This is something that meteorologists do look at quite often, the shape of it. Some people familiar with tracking severe weather have seen it. You see this sort of hook shape and this little notch. This is called an inflow notch, and that's where we know winds are likely getting fed into the storm. And then the hook is a wrap around of precipitation around the circulation. So we know that in here is where we would find that circulation, right where I've been showing over I-95. But here's that tornado warning. It's a long tornado warning. I'm going to track it for you and give you the latest on distance. It looks like it may have sped up a bit, so we'll get the latest information on forward speed and location here momentarily. It looks like the forward motion now increased only a little bit, east at 20 miles per hour, but this is still radar indicated rotation. But the Weather Service is also now identifying quarter-size hail possible as well. The communities in the path include Aberdeen, Havre de Grace, Aberdeen Proving Ground, so it's not too far from that, Riverside, Perryman, and that'll be there around 8:20. I'm going to give a fresh track on the warning. And you can see where that circulation is. So we're going to try to track it from where the current circulation is at. And we'll give you a good idea. Now, our overall tracks by the computer are not doing a good job today, which means we do manual track, so about 20 miles per hour. So there we go, some of the communities. I'll add more communities to this track. Let's go down to these. So Aberdeen Proving Grounds, there you are, Havre de Grace 850. And here we are with some others. Aberdeen Proving Ground 840. So this is going to be very near those two communities here in just the next 20 to 30 minutes. So Aberdeen, you've got plenty of time, but don't delay. Go ahead and get to your safe place. An interior room with as many walls as you can between you and the outside, away from windows. Don't press your face to the glass looking for this. It's not a good idea. Havre de Grace, you're not you're on the very northern fringe of this, but you know, let's be on the safe side for you guys too. And then the Aberdeen Proving Grounds. But it is still moving due east at 20 miles per hour. And I'll add in even a few more of the smaller communities. So we've got so many here near Riverside, but you can get some of these in the idea. So Bynum Hills, 820, which is really now, that's basically right where it's at. But it does include things like Henley Park, Long Bar Harbor, as we move through 820 to 825. So again, that's the fresh track that we've got for you. We'll update it as we get it. So still crossing right over Riverside is where we are seeing this potentially tornadic circulation right in here. And you can see that from some of these colors that we have and that I'm showing you. Once again, these are the velocity, the winds inside the storm. When the green and the red are close to each other, this gives you an idea of what's going on. So that is the green going towards the radar, which is in this direction, and this is the red moving away. So that's what gives us that counterclockwise circulation of the storm. And again, it's taking a very slow east track between Aberdeen, the Aberdeen Proving Grounds. The storm has not necessarily been reported with a tornado, but we have seen enough of a circulation in there to warrant the tornado warning, and we've had already two. Now this is a third tornado warning that's been issued on these storms. It's just absolutely mind-blowing to see it move over almost the exact same areas twice in a matter of a couple of hours. I'm sure you folks back towards Pleasant Hill are probably a little exhausted of this today. It's been quite a day for you, but for everybody else, they've seen nothing. I want to remind you what it looked like earlier. This is how things shaped up. Gary Ballard sending us this picture from a storm earlier. The same exact area of the Bush River looking west. If you see anything like that, that is at least an indication that is a wall cloud you're looking at. And that appendage there you see low to the ground is where you could see a potential funnel cloud or tornado touchdown. That's the area you would be looking at. Another example, this is much closer in Kingsville. Jennifer Bresley Asbury sent this to us, and you can see that wall cloud, ragged wall cloud, possibly a funnel, but it's hard to see, obstructed by some trees there. That was earlier today. If you get any photos, please, you can send them to me, Facebook, on X, or weather@foxbaltimore.com. That is absolutely the place that I will see them most likely here. And I'm seeing some photos coming in. Got a lot of swirling clouds in Joppa. I'm going to take a look at this. Kai Jackson's in here too. He's scouring a lot of things. Okay, so I just got a video in that shows definite circulation, but not a tornado. You can see the rotation here in this, and that was when that storm was right over Joppa. So that was some time ago. So that's good.
Gerard, do you want me to show some smart board while you're looking for that?
Please do, Kai. Thank you.
Well, this is Gerard's been talking all afternoon about these wall clouds and how some of them can look really tornadic. This came in from Isaac. A pretty impressive look there for a bit near the Weiss. That's in Perry Hall, so that's Baltimore County. And remember, Gerard, that's where all of this really kind of fired up today. And you, me, and Mary were on the air. That Baltimore County White Marsh area was kind of the nexus for those initial storms. Here, this is coming in from Be More Weather. Funnel cloud around 4:35, viewed from Canton with the drone. So that's really impressive, and a great use of drones, by the way. But please use those in accordance with the FAA and do it safely. And again, Gerard, this I think really emphasizes just how crazy this weather has been. Sunshine Avenue, north and south of Marywood. Now, earlier today, my wife and I are in the house. I think it may have been yesterday, Gerard, and it's sunny out, and it was almost like a deluge.
Yes, you can have that happen. These storms are basically tilted in a way where the sunlight can peek underneath and through, where it can be bright and sunny, but an absolute downpour. And that can definitely happen. I'm going through a lot. You guys are doing great, sending me photos of what you're seeing out your window. That's great. And I'm getting many here and sifting through them, looking for anything that is showing me any indications of something tornadic. There's a few shots, and we're going to have these tonight for sure during our 10 o'clock newscast, but so many pictures coming in, and we're going to try to get these to you and show them.
Can I do one more quick one real quick?
Please.
This is from our assistant news director, Andrea Verosco. Flooding in Falston. This is probably Andrea's property out here. Andrea, I hope you, your husband and Aaron are safe. We trust that you are, but look at this rush of water. Hopefully she's got a nice garden, so I hope it's not messing with Andrea's garden. But this shows you, again, Gerard, you talked all night about the potential for flooding, even if we didn't have tornadic activity.
Yes.
And if you have one of these areas, it kind of has maybe a light stream or creek that runs through it.
Right.
I suppose this can be one of the results.
Absolutely. We're going to see a big problem with flooding with any of these. They're moving so slowly. And the issue is, of course, they're dropping just an intense rain rates. The rain rates have continued to be on the order of sometimes 3 inches per hour. And with that means that you factor that over a period of 4 hours, we're going to be seeing sometimes 9 inches of rain or more in some spots, but accumulating rainfall totals have been impressive. And here's a look at that bullseye. We know we've had at least 5 inches of rain over here between Baldwin, Joppatown, or near Kingsville and Pleasant Hills. And that continues to add up. The rain has been torrential. But again, we're going to continue to track this tornado warning, as that has also been a big issue tonight. Just with the fact that these storms are moving slowly is a good thing. It means it gives plenty of communities time to take shelter. It's not like they're moving at an incredibly high rate, so a very good thing that circulation's still centered near Riverside, not looking terribly impressive, but still there. We're hoping that this will be canceled soon, but we have to just wait and see. They've been extending this out because the storm has been strong enough, although I have seen a lot of signs of it, at the very least, pulsing down, weakening down, but it could just pulse back up. These storms are living, breathing animals. You have to think of them that way. They can breathe in and get stronger, and then they can exhale and put down a lot of precipitation. Then they breathe in and muscle back up again, and then put out more damaging winds, strong outflow, that's called, and that also means that you will see a very high amount of precipitation. So a lot of folks that may be driving on I-95 here are what I'd be concerned about, but Riverside, this is that area of circulation we're most concerned about. It is getting close to the Aberdeen Proving Grounds, but not there yet. It is still too close to Riverside right now, the circulation, but I'm sure everyone else in the torrential rain, in the unbelievable barrage of lightning that's coming down with this as well. I'm going to quickly turn on how much lightning it is, and that's been over 400 strikes in the last 15 minutes at times. There it is. We're down to around nearly 400 strikes per minute. Excuse me, per 15 minutes. And that is still an incredible amount of lightning. And we'll put this in motion just to show you where it's been slowly tracking, but mostly taking an easterly track now, about 20 miles per hour. So still a crawler of a storm here. plenty of damage reported from the previous storm that we've seen, which has been mostly down trees, power lines, and flooding. I would assume at the very least you're going to see more of that in these same areas, especially the flooding. But now we're getting close to the Aberdeen Proving Grounds. The base there, it's very close. It's a broad circulation. That's still the good news. We're not seeing a very tight circulation like we did before. Again, I'm going to back this up in time to show you what it did look like when it was much more concerning. And it was at this point where the circulation was much stronger. When it was over Kingsville around 7:40, we had a couple of scans where it was much more intense. If we saw this, I'd be much more concerned about it, because that is very tight circulation and possibly producing a tornado. As we progress this forward, you'll see that circulation broadening out and weakening at the same time. So this is mostly looking good, or at least better than it was when we're talking about anything tornadic. But the flooding threat is still there. The potential for some large hail is still possible, up to quarter size from the National Weather Service. And we're still waiting to see if we get any more damage reports coming in. That's the hail swath that this storm has possibly produced there back towards Joppatown. And the overall rotation detector is at least showing some weak rotation, which is what we're expected here because of the way the storm has been performing. It's continuing to weaken, but not completely dissipate here. And again, where you're seeing those brighter green colors, there's not just the torrential rain, but winds gusting at times 40 to 50 miles per hour. You could even see wind gusts up to 60, which can bring down trees and power lines. If you see damage in your area, oh my gosh, look at that shot. Can we take that full screen? Okay, so you're looking, yes, right towards Aberdeen. So this is right near that very intense rain. If you look just barely, you can see that incredibly intense rain. And that is a huge rain shaft right in front of her. This is our reporter. Do we know who's driving with her? It's just Morgan? Okay. So Morgan is out there driving, following things, and she's been doing great as a journalist, photojournalist for us tonight, gathering any picture she can get. What a shot that she had there just a moment ago, looking up into that intense rain. And you can see there's been plenty of ponding on there as well from this, but we've seen her drive through, I would say, some moderate ponding where the road stripe almost disappears. And we're just hoping she doesn't come across any stranded vehicles. But it looks like so far the drainage has been able to keep up there, but in other areas not so easily. And it looks like behind me, that's I-95. I'm not sure what exit, near Maryland 543. There goes a lightning flash. Bell Camp, you said? Okay, so that's near Bell Camp, it looks like, on I-95. Lots of lightning, we know that, so you can see that. Again, Aberdeen, this is where that very intense rain is. This, I know that our driver, Morgan's there nearby Aberdeen, so this is, again, that spot that we were tracking. And the tornado warning, I'm trying to make sure that's still in effect. Yes, it is. Still in effect until 8:45, so we have technically 15 more minutes unless it is canceled. And feel free to jump in anytime, Kai, if you see anything or hear of anything.
And I'm looking at this here, Gerard, I-95 north of Maryland 543. There is just a torrential downpour right now. I think you can see this as well. The headlights are on. A lot of people are using flashers, and clearly people are kind of slowing down, which I think is a good thing. In this kind of rain, it's probably a better idea. I'm also seeing drivers, it looks like in some instances, you really should allow for a lot of extra distance between yourself and the person in front of you, just in case you may have to stop quickly because you'll likely slide in that rain.
No doubt. Kai, the rain intensity over I-95 right now has just like absolutely maximized here.
Yeah,
so,
can you give people a kind of like either numerically or an equation to help them understand how much rain is coming down right now?
Well, the rain rates are going 3 inches per hour, but I'll go ahead and say, unless you've been storm chasing like me for 25 plus years, you would probably encounter some of the most intense rain on I-95 there near Aberdeen that you have ever seen.
Wow.
I really want to stress it is not advisable to proceed. We'll just be on the safe side. In past White Marsh, into this storm through Aberdeen, anyone on I-95 or any of these roads here, including between Havre de Grace and Aberdeen, we're talking about, it looks like Highway 40 showing up. I'm not entirely sure. Let me zoom in to get exactly what the name of that road is. It says State Highway 7. Goodness, the rain rates are huge there. But there it is. South Philadelphia Boulevard is what I would be talking about. Maryland Boulevard. The most intense rain of all is now hitting Aberdeen and Aberdeen Hills, and continues to hit I-95 all the way up. Bel Air is finally out of this storm, as they have been clobbered all day long. All right, one more quick look at the velocity. Intense winds. The winds inside have increased in intensity. We know we have at least some gusts likely reaching the ground near 50 miles per hour, but we are still looking to see if this is going to maximize and consolidate into a circulation that's stronger and more concentrated. Not seeing that right now, but I'm watching carefully. These winds inside of it are a little out of place, to be honest with you. They're not in the right location that I would see for something tornadic, which means the storm could either be cycling or just winding down completely. Where I would be looking for tornadic winds would be back in here, and they're not quite lining up. You can see it's kind of offset from what I was pointing to earlier. So at the very least, I would say the radar is not directly indicating anything tornadic at this moment, but we still have to take this very much under advisement that this could easily be producing a tornado now, just knowing that the radar right now, Kai, the radar beam is 6,500 feet above your head. When it's that high up, you're missing what's happening near the ground. And what's happening near the ground, it means everything. And that's where your tornado would be occurring if there was one. And it's very difficult to know what's going on when the radar beam is so high up. And the reason why it's so high up is because the radar itself is very distant. It's all the way back in Virginia. So we don't have a close radar to really show you. But this storm, again, that would be the location I would be looking at for anything further of tornadic development. Just not seeing that right now, but still some intense winds, incredibly intense rain. And then, of course, the lightning barrage that's happening. You can see that behind me. It's 400 strikes every 15 minutes, many of them cloud to ground. So you know this is an intense storm, and I know everyone around here is thinking, wow, this is a powerful storm, and I'm sure that's the way it's appearing. Again, some hail could be falling in this too. Once again, do not park under overpasses. Exit and find a suitable shelter. You can exit and park under a gas station overcovering if you like. Sometimes those quarter car wash gas stations are good too. At least gets you out of the worst of it. But if you can exit your car and go indoors, that's the best thing. But if you're parked under an overpass, that's a very, very bad idea. You can have a horrific crash by doing such a thing. So Aberdeen Proving Grounds, it's still near there, that circulation, but there's nothing here to indicate a tornado on the ground at this moment. That's good news, but these storms are fairly weak in the winds today. By that, I mean the circulation of the winds. The storms are powerful, the strong, they're beastly, but the winds inside them are not exactly rotating at incredibly high rates, meaning very difficult to detect.
Gerard,
Yeah.
can I get one little clip of video in? And Hannah, this is coming from what area did Andrew do this? This is from Folsom. This is from a former producer here at Fox 45, Gerard. This is Andrew Hunnicky. Andrew, thank you so much. Just outstanding young man. I really like Andrew a lot. Great producer. But this is some of the video that he took just a little while ago, I think. Look at these rushing waters. Now, I think people should be mindful of this. This looks interesting, but how dangerous is this kind of water?
Well, you don't want to be standing in it. I wouldn't say this is necessarily the kind of lethality that you could get in something else. Where you will find flash flooding more lethal, Kai, is people trying to cross it in their vehicles. If this was water rushing down a road and you're in a vehicle, not good. You don't know the depth of it. I wouldn't suggest crossing that, trying to cross it, but that is not exactly the most lethal stream I've seen. Okay. And I'll say this, but we could see something far worse just by people running into something they're not aware of. And it looks like we have another shot. This may be, okay, this is Aberdeen with Morgan again. And getting looks like a view out the side of the vehicle now. Probably getting a look at how much lightning intensity is going on. Now, something else to note, Kai, is that the storm is doing what I was talking about, which is called back building and kind of creating more for itself. You see the new development back there towards Joppatown. While that may not necessarily be of concern for anything tornadic, which is good, if the storm does that, that can actually hinder its ability to produce a tornado, but it can increase its ability to flood. So you're getting more and more moisture, more rain pouring over the same zones over and over and over again. You can see these are wind damage reports near White Marsh and some flooding reports near Baldwin. That's from earlier. We haven't seen any new damage reports come out yet. Certainly could, but I'm mostly concerned about the flooding rain that's happening more than anything, even though, yes, we do still have that tornado warning. I'm not seeing a huge or a strong circulation on it right now. That's the good news, but the warning is still officially in effect until 8:45. Now it's moving over the Aberdeen Proving Grounds, the most intense rain. Wow, and possibly some hail in there too, Kai.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of churning up. And I'm amazed. How many lightning strikes have we recorded
I'll give you
already?
the next count right now is, wow, in this picture, just from this one storm is at 400. 400 wow. Strikes per 15 minutes. So if you divide that by 15, you get it per minute.
Yeah.
That's still a lot of lightning.
It's a lot. It's a lot, and that's if you're out.
Yeah.
Also, I think we want to mention as well that those tips again for if you do think it's imminent and you see something or you hear that kind of train sound, as you said earlier,
yeah.
Be inside, surrounded by as many walls as possible. No windows, hopefully maybe an interior bathroom or a closet?
Yes, or basement. Now, I was saying earlier, Kai, that a lot of people have basements. Some of them may be leaking or even flooding.
Right.
If there's any water in there deeper than, say, your ankles,
right.
then you'd probably find a little bit of a different area. But I would suggest even the basement is still the best spot. I can't tell from the picture that we see on the right. Can you tell if traffic is stopping up ahead or just everyone's got their hazard lights on?
Yeah, it is hard to see. It looks like, I think they just have hazard lights on.
Okay.
That's what it looks like to me.
At the very least,
slowing
it's slowing.
Down. Yes.
They're definitely slowing.
They are slowing down, definitely. And yeah, those sump pumps are working overtime, right?
Yes,
today?
no kidding. So I'm hoping that there's not basement flooding. But if there is and you're in this tornado warning, there's no shame in getting in your basement. There is always a better policy of being safe than sorry, and away from windows. If you don't want to go down into a flooded basement, at least get into interior bathroom.
Listen, when I grew up as a kid, well, this is my mother's birth home in Indiana, New Albany. Her parents, they had a storm shelter.
Yeah.
So you go outside of the house, those double doors. You had them in, you know about these, of course, from Kansas. And I lived in Kansas. And you open those double doors, you get down in a cellar, and this is surrounded by concrete. Probably no better place and safer place to be in the event of a tornado.
Always underground, and that's where we say basements are the best, even if there's a little bit of water in them. But granted, I want to say still, the biggest threat out of this storm, despite the fact that there is a tornado warning, the flash flooding may be it, and people on the roads running into this incredibly intense rain. I'm a little concerned about them, especially at highway speeds. So Aberdeen Proving Grounds. Excuse me, and then... okay, well, one thing to say, Kai, is that the storm itself has cycled up a bit.
Oh, meaning, it's ratcheting up.
It is, well, stand by. I may have had an old scan. I may have been mistaken.
Because I'm looking for you. I'm trying to find more video.
I was mistaken. I had an old scan up. Please forgive me. I was a mistake that I made. But what we do have, again, is still very intense rain, tons of lightning. The tornado warning still in effect until 8:45 p.m. But the velocity is not showing much other than some intense winds over Aberdeen in the Aberdeen Proving Grounds. And we're talking wind gusts 50, 60 miles per hour buried in all that rain, but not much of a tornadic circulation. So I'm hopeful and thinking that this warning will be either canceled or allowed to expire here soon enough. And there's a brand new flash flood warning over those areas. Just as I was saying, I was most concerned about the flooding.
Yep.
That's what's going on now. So Aberdeen, including I-95 all the way through there, flash flood warning now until 11:45 p.m. And again, you can send us your photos if you'd like to. We have a team here that can be looking for them as well, including I'm getting some new video in right now, but if you do have some photos of what may be damage or possibly some really deep flooding, things like that, you can please send them to us. This is a good way to get them to me directly, weather@foxbaltimore.com, but you can also tweet at me on X or send them to me on Facebook. But definitely weather@foxbaltimore.com. Okay, so we have some lightning from John in Bel Air.
Wow, look at that.
And we have seen some pretty incredible pictures today, Kai. I mean, many of them have just been so intense.
Yeah, the ability to get that snapshot at that given moment is.
Yeah, I mean, even if it was a video capture.
And he froze it, right?
Yes, but either way, we've seen so much lightning. It would not surprise me if some people caught some lightning bolts on camera, just taking still shots. So once again, the biggest issue, this is what it looked like earlier today along the Bush River. That was storm number 1 moving over the same spot, okay? You can see that appendage hanging down. That's the wall cloud, and that's the same thing that you're seeing here most likely. The trees are blocking anything else, but you may see something like this. That's not necessarily a tornado, not necessarily a funnel cloud. It could just be some scud or a ragged wall cloud, or what that's called, and can still look very, very alarming, very scary, but not necessarily tornadic. But we want to take this seriously as if it is. Just based upon the way this storm has behaved, we have not seen any confirmation of anything tornadic, so that's some good news. But we know there's been reports of damage as well as flooding. Not sure if this, yep, this looks like yeah, this was the same report from earlier, 641. The 1200 block of Jericho Road is closed due to water flowing across the road, and I would expect to see more of that.
Let me see.
Okay, wow, traffic is working hard to get through this. I would prefer to see it moving a little slowly, a little slower. Something that you may want to consider, I know a lot of people put their hazard lights on around here. It's actually not the greatest idea to do that.
No, it's not. You do see it a lot, but I think it probably is not the best idea.
Right.
And if you talk to Maryland State Police, I think they would agree.
Yes, for a couple of reasons. Kai will tell you. It can temporarily make it harder for the driver behind you to see. Yeah. Not better, worse. But also, let's say you were a car pulled over on the side of the road and you had your hazard lights on. Someone may think that's where the road goes because everyone's following it, and they may not realize you're a stopped vehicle and not a moving one. Better to not have your hazard lights on. It doesn't really do you much good.
It's like putting your bright lights on in fog.
Correct. It does more harm than good. Yeah. Exactly, Kai. So again, back to the radar if we can for a moment. The tornado warning still in effect for just another 2 minutes. Let's see if it gets... Oh, good. Okay, so that has now been canceled. So the tornado warning is now canceled. That's good. We're gonna end here in just a moment. 11:45 p.m. on the flash flood warning, including Aberdeen Proving Grounds, Havre de Grace, Riverside, and it will continue until 11:45. Abingdon, Henley Park. This is I-95, that entire area, near Perryville as well. More of that intense rain is going to continue. So we're going to be monitoring the situation very carefully. If there's another tornado warning, we will be breaking in to provide you the latest information. For now, the flooding threat is still going to continue.
Gerard, thank you. Great work. And I just want to say thank you to Morgan, a photojournalist, Morgan Bravado, who's been out there in the thick of it. Morgan, please be safe, but thank you for your great video.
And we may hang with this just a little bit longer. Until we're given the all clear. We're going to continue here for just another moment. I'm going to wait here for just another minute, just in case they want to reissue a warning, because my computer here is still showing it up to 8:45. It hasn't quite caught up to it yet. My other computer is showing the warning has now expired, but I'm going to wait to make sure that there isn't a new warning that's going to come out. Only thing I've been getting is more flash flooding. And that, again, goes until 11:45 p.m., but this tornado warning should expire here. Any moment, you'll see it disappear off this screen, and we're just going to make sure that there's not going to be a new tornado warning issued. But I would not expect that based upon the way the storm is looking. It continues to weaken and show very little signs of rotation. All right, so far, the warning again expired on both computers now, so I think we're safe to send you back to regular programming. We will be watching again for the rest of the night. We have so much more weather that could be occurring over the next several hours until these storms are completely gone. The flooding threat is going to be around. We have crews out following this storm, looking for damage. If you have damage, you can send that to us, whether at foxbaltimore.com or you can send it into our station directly on our website, foxbaltimore.com. But we'll be tracking this very carefully over the next several hours. And anything else, again, please take your precautions, take these storms seriously, but stay right here with Fox 45, your weather authority, and we will keep you advised.